Hello.
Welcome to the Geekly.
Hi, yeah, I'm Lex.
I'm Jules. It's super humid today, and it was like stormy all night, and that really like gets into my brain. I had this kind of storm headache all night, and it just makes me a bit weird the next day. And I'm still living it. It's really overcast outside, it's super humid, and you just don't know if it's going to break and there'll be sunshine or it's going to piss it down.
Well, and on top of that, it's cold, so I've got a hoodie and shorts on. This is my outfit for dealing with cold, humid weather in England.
Yeah.
Although I really appreciate, we finally had a thunderstorm last night. We never get thunderstorms.
Yeah, I love a thunderstorm.
And people ask me what I miss about the States. It's like thunderstorms.
Yeah.
And they're just, they never know how to respond to that. It's just like, okay, that's weird. Anyway, let's, we're talking about a bunch of stuff today. We've got Season 3 of Jessica Jones, which is the last Netflix Marvel outing.
Episode 3 of Swamp Thing. Episode 3 of Black Mirror and Krypton, Season 2, Episode 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, spoilers will be littered throughout this episode. So if you haven't watched them, planning on watching them, maybe pause this and come back to it later. We did a poll this week. We did a poll. In the wake of the whole DC universe either folding, being restructured, something like that, I just wanted to know what your favourite of the kind of 3 shows that have come out of it so far are. Titans, Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing. I said, like, before I did the poll, give me like 10 weeks, I probably would have voted for Swamp Thing if it continues down this down this route that it's going. I voted for Titans. What did you vote for?
I voted for Swamp Thing. Like it was a difficult choice because I like each of the shows for very different reasons. Yeah. But I think every week that we watch a new Swamp Thing episode, I'm like super excited for it, which not quite as excited. Like Doom Patrol, I was always sort of curious, like what are they going to get up to now?
Yeah, what hijinks?
Yeah, you know, like what sort of weirdness are we in store for? Titans, you know, it was really enjoyable. It's kind of like the quintessential comic book show, in my opinion, like way more than the Arrowverse or even the Netflix Marvel shows. You know, it's very sleek and action-oriented. Gritty, yeah. Like it really captures the Bat family universe really well.
I think that's probably one of the reasons I liked it. You just get that little bit of connective tissue to like Gotham City and Batman, and we'll never get the show about Batman going out and doing all his kind of things because
we don't really need that show.
Absolutely not. We don't need that at all. But so this is the next best thing, and this is enough to kind of just have that whiff of Batman in the air. You know, Jorah will be here for season 2 as well to do his kind of Bruce Wayne thing, which would be nice. But yeah, that's probably why I went for Titans. And anyway, yeah, the result. I mean, I saw this poll. Like 3 times Titans was winning, probably another 3 times Swamp Thing was winning. Sorry, Doom Patrol was winning, and it was a dead heat, 38% versus 38%, Doom Patrol and Titans. So, yeah, I think that's probably fair. You know, it's a tough call.
Yeah, I mean, especially like only 3-4 episodes into Swamp Thing, and knowing that it's already been canceled, I can understand, because I sort of felt this too of like, do I really want to invest in a show that I know is got a very limited run, but I think Swamp Thing is just, it's good enough that, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this kind of great momentum's going to continue, but it was originally meant to be 13, and literally as they were filming, like, episodes 11, 12 and 13, DC shut it down. So I'm curious to know how the ending, whether it'll feel kind of tacked on, whether it'll feel kind of weird. It'll be like, oh, and it was all a dream, just to kind of, you know, tidy up loose ends that they can't or didn't film or whatever. But yeah, I think Swamp Thing's really, really good, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this season.
And, you know, we'll just keep hoping that somebody swoops in and saves it.
HBO?
Yeah.
God, it'd be a good HBO show. I reckon it could do well on NBC, maybe. Because I think
Amazon would be good.
Amazon, yeah.
I wouldn't do NBC.
No?
NBC is like, well, it's one of the like free public channels, so it's you get the same sort of thing that you do with the CW.
See, they had Hannibal, and that's what made me think that maybe there's a room for that kind of thing in their marketing, but they cancelled Hannibal. So yeah. I'm guessing it probably does. They probably don't have room for that.
A company like HBO would be able to invest the budget into it, where I don't think NBC would be able to quite manage.
Can you imagine, like, you know, we've seen these vines like attacking people and ripping people to shreds. Can you imagine them going to kind of NBC and it being you see like people like bullies and things like
I would not want to. Yeah, no.
You've got this like green hand around someone's neck. You can tell they are holding it. They're like, oh, he's got me. That would be Let's just try and go to HBO. That'd be amazing.
we need somebody with a big budget, because I mean Swamp Thing looks so good.
I mean, I don't actively search out kind of horror, eerie, creepy things, but it doesn't
I do.
feel like there's... Yeah, I know you do. It doesn't feel like there's much on TV like this at the moment.
There really isn't.
No.
I mean, horror is kind of a very neglected genre in a lot of ways. And I mean, a lot of things get classified as horror that aren't really horror. They're more kind of like the thriller thing and focus on jump scares and cheap ploys. The thing I like about Swamp Thing is they're able to just kind of, throughout the episode, with very little kind of effort, able to maintain this very creepy vibe. And yeah, we need more shows like that, really.
We absolutely do. We'll come back to Swamp Thing. Let's start with Jessica Jones Series 3. I don't know about you, but I came out of this feeling pretty sad. I kind of hoped it would be a really strong ending to the Netflix Marvel
I think
collaboration.
they tried to do it, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Season 1 was absolutely amazing, brilliant. It kind of cemented Jessica Jones as my favorite of the 4 Netflix Marvel shows, with Luke Cage as kind of a close second. Funnily, I saw somebody do a poll on like which was their favorite Netflix Marvel's show, and they mentioned all of them except for Iron Fist. they replaced it with The Defenders, and it's just like, yeah, we're not even going to give people that option.
Yeah.
But yeah, this season it was really slow. I think they were trying to sort of go with the noir detective feel, but they didn't quite pull it off. And all of the kind of... It was very angsty in a way that Jessica Jones hasn't been really. And you know, like the conflict between her and Trish. I didn't buy her being that upset about her mother dying. I mean, she was raised by Trish's mother, who was an abusive mother. And again, when Trish's mother died, I didn't really buy Trish's sort of emotional breakdown about it. All of the parents in Jessica Jones are abusive parents. You know, it comes out that Trish's father beat her mother, and Trish, you know, lied and said that he beat her. But then Dorothy was abusive to Trish, and I don't know, it felt really forced, and maybe kind of like one of the writers was working through their own mother issues.
Yeah.
But I didn't really believe the character reactions, and I felt like, you know, they kept saying, Jessica Jones kept saying, you know, I finally give a shit, like that was some sort of justification for her suddenly being really emotional about things. And yeah, I didn't buy it. I just felt like the season completely undermined her character.
Yeah, I didn't really buy Trish becoming essentially a serial killer. I mean, we've seen her as this kind of teen icon, I guess kind of like a Hannah Montana kind of thing, and then she evolved into this, doing this talk show on the radio, selling these clothes, bit of a local celebrity, not national but local. Okay, yeah, we watch superhero shows all the live long day. We've seen people either not have powers, you know, or get powers like Barry Allen, or go and kind of acquire powers like Trish. And so we've seen these kind of stories the whole time, and so we didn't need, of all the people in the show, I didn't need to see like an origin story for it. It was like Trish becoming, I think Wildcat's the name of the character, but her then kind of going out on this quest for, you know, kind of like Oliver Queen, I guess, you know, you have failed this city, and then we see her go down this path, and then it took almost nothing for her to sort of get this Lazarus Pit or Mirakuru soldier bloodlust, where she literally was like beating the shit out of people. Fair enough, I mean, like, you know, Oliver Queen, like, you know, who, like in MCU, people will beat up thugs, you know, that's the thing. You do a bad thing, you've got to get at least like a punch in the face. But she went from this kind of, season 2, obviously she started her descent, but I never bought her really turning into a serial killer by the end of it. The fact that Jessica's putting her on the raft, I think, is the place where Ant-Man was, Hawkeye was, Scarlet Witch maybe as well. Like, she's in like a supermax for like super villains, you know, quote unquote, people think of super villains. That whole storyline where she was like the actual bad guy, this season just felt very peculiar, like a real about turn for the whole show. I would rather they just stuck with, but I think the kind of Salinger, like, he was so weak. They had to kind of do like 2 villains, like the Marvel's TV shows occasionally do. So yeah, both kind of elements kind of failed for me.
Yeah, for me. I mean, like, Trish has never been one of my favorite characters. I always found her kind of vapid and shallow, and this season was really no different. I mean, think about like other times that good characters have sort of gone bad because of powers, like Thea and Arrow and Sarah as well. And, you know, their sort of descent into being kind of like a berserker was really well established and linked to the Lazarus Pit and everything, whereas we didn't really get the like internal struggle with Trish.
She was desperate for it, wasn't she? She
Yeah.
was thrilled. Like, there was no inner turmoil, just kill.
Yeah, and no sort of like descent into it. No, there was no transition period from Trish, the best friend slash sister, to serial killer.
I mean, is this similar to? Can we talk about Danny briefly? I mean, probably episode 6 in Jessica Jones. She was still, her and Jessica had finally become friends again. They were partners, you know. Like, one had binoculars at the front door, one had binoculars at the back door. And then, yeah, by episode, like, 12 of 13, she's, like, a proper fully fledged serial killer. Like, talking to Eric, like, give me another target, I'm going to, like, kill them. And, you know, him saying, like, he obviously gets these headaches about bad people. Her being like, have I helped? You know, your headaches. It was kind of like, he became her morality, like, a good decision, like a very binary headache, non-headache kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, bringing up the moral compass thing, because she was, several times in this season, they mentioned that she was the moral compass for Jessica.
Yeah.
And so I would have expected for somebody who acted as the moral compass for somebody else to have a very defined sense of right and wrong, and there to be some bit of pushback in justifying killing people.
Yeah.
I mean, we got kind of a brief glimmer of that when she accidentally killed Montero, the real estate developer, because she only meant to like rough him up a bit, and she lost control and killed him, and there was like a brief second of her kind of looking in shock at what she'd done, but then it was like really quickly brushed aside, and we never really saw that again.
Yeah, I think Eric was like, headache's gone. She was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay then.
Yeah, everything's cool now.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think season 1, it was so good. It was like kind of, you know, themes and perspectives I hadn't really seen before on TV, and so to have a season 3 that was so kind of generic and every trope was kind of an overused trope felt like a real downer. What did you make of Salinger? Because he had these 5 doctorates. He was meant to be this super smart serial killer, and nothing about him ever was that clever. Like, he never really outthought them at any point. I want to bring in The Thinker briefly from like that horrible Flash season where The Thinker's whole thing was undermining Barry Allen. So like the police wouldn't believe Barry, his friends wouldn't believe him, Barry would even like question himself. But he never did that. He would just attack Jessica in these very kind of petty ways, apart from the murder, obviously, of Dorothy. And she was always right. Like, the police believed everything she said. Salinger's a serial killer. Oh, okay then. Yeah, there's a body under the gazebo. Oh, okay then. He's left his house. No, he's in his house. We'll go up there. And it was that thing when they opened the door, and you expected Salinger to be there, but it was the house sit. And so she was constantly correct. So yeah, he, as this super, like, genius level serial killer, I didn't believe for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you on that. I mean, I think this kind of super smart serial killer who's able to like outmaneuver the hero is a really overplayed trope, especially since we had David Tennant doing that in season 1, and in season 1 it worked really well. You believed that he was capable of doing all of these things, whereas Salinger, one, it's not a very interesting premise, but like you said, they didn't make it believable that he was really this smart. Like, he kept getting away with like stupid reasons.
He sent her videos with his very distinguishable voice telling her what he's going to do. First one deleted because Jessica didn't understand how that app worked. The second one, they videoed
the video.
Send it to the police. The game over.
The body under his parents' gazebo.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, oh well, because the hair is missing, we have nothing.
And then she made him confess on camera because I think he poisoned her bourbon, but she must have found out about it and she was pretending to be poisoned. So they did the whole rigmarole where he likes to photograph people's truth. Then she breaks out, and after he's confessed, we got him. Eric was in the kitchen the whole time. It's absurd. Like, this genius level guy didn't check the kitchen to check if there's anyone else there. Salinger, like, I think the guy's name's Jeremy Bobb, and he was the love interest in Russian Doll. So the first moment I saw him, that was all I was thinking about. So that robbed him of a bit of kind of menace from minute 1. But these 5 degrees, he's meant to be this genius. Not for a moment. Villains are like the bedrock upon which you build things, you know? And if you've got a terrible villain...
Yeah, if you don't have a good villain, or you don't do the villain believably, everything else falls short. So, I mean, if that was the only mistake they'd made this season, it would have had a disappointing end, but there were, you know... I think the whole series was sort of riddled with mistakes. Jessica didn't seem like Jessica. She actually seemed quite, like, fragile and vulnerable.
Yeah, which was sad, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, she is kind of a tortured character. Yeah. She's a raging alcoholic, incredibly violent, hates people,
Close to sociopath.
Yeah, like, I mean, except that sociopaths
That's why
are
we
charming.
like her so much, you know?
Yeah, like...
We're charming sociopaths. That's why we like her, yeah.
And yeah, this season, it seemed to strip away all of her strength and complexity and just sort of make her very sort of, oh my god, you killed my mommy, like, every episode. And I mean, they could have made the conflict between her and Trish really sort of interesting and shown some complex feelings from Jessica about, you know, this woman who kind of abandoned her and treated her horribly, but was also her mother. And I mean, we all know we have, like, weird feelings about our parents, and it doesn't matter how shitty they are to us, just we still sort of feel this connection to them. But they didn't do that. They just kind of went straight for, like, I had my mom back and you killed her, you're a horrible person. And yeah, I didn't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, we respond to the kind of boundaries that TV shows set themselves. If they tell us this is Jessica Jones, this is who she is, and this will always be who she is, the moment she isn't that, we have to pick people up on these decisions. If you're showing, like, again, Salinger, if you're showing he's got these 5 degrees, you're telling us he's a genius. If he's not, we have to pick you up on these things. If you're going to have David Tennant playing Kilgrave in season 1, that's the bar.
Yeah, you have to exceed that. Another thing that bothered me was, like, the number of times that there were entire episodes that were basically compilations of previous episodes. Episode 2 was the first one, and I mean, God, that episode went on forever. I was, like, sitting there thinking, like, seriously, has it not been an hour yet? But so we had, like, episode 1 with Jessica doing some stuff and whatever. And then episode 2 is all about Trish, and it backtracks, and it shows what Trish was doing while Jessica was doing other stuff. And episode 9 was another one that stuck out for me as basically just a compilation of other episodes. And when...
Was it the one where it was exactly the same as the previous episode, but from, like, different perspectives? Like, you saw Trish from Jessica walked into a room, Trish was doing press-ups. Then the next episode, the camera's by Trish doing press-ups.
Yeah,
it's
basically.
the exact thing.
It's the exact scene, but from Trish's perspective.
Yeah.
And, like, there were maybe 2 or 3 extra scenes between her and Eric plotting to do the whole vigilante thing. Yeah. And, I mean, yeah, it can be a very effective thing to sort of break with chronology and backtrack and do stuff. But in this case, it just felt repetitive. It was like, episode 9... particularly, it was just, I've seen all of this stuff before. Like, we are literally getting nothing new. You're wasting an entire episode just to show us a slightly different perspective of scenes we've already encountered, and I mean, it was a waste. Like, you could have just done 10 episodes instead of 12.
Exactly what I was about to say. We've talked about this with other Netflix Marvel. We always get 13. It's this mandated 13. You got to jump through these hoops. With Daredevil series 3, I felt there may be 2 or 3 too many episodes. You probably felt like 4 or 5. I know you're not particularly into Daredevil. I'd say this one was probably about 4 too many episodes. I've written down some kind of side quests I wasn't sure if we really needed to see. All the prostitute stuff, Eric's sister, didn't feel particularly necessary to the plot. The Costa adoption, even though it was one scene, it was like, oh, we've got to hit our little LGBT quota in this scene. A lot of the Hogarth stuff.
And POC quota, because...
Oh, yeah.
You know, his daughter is black, and, like, everybody else is white. Like, everybody else is white. But, and they brought Luke Cage in for all of 5 minutes. So we have our, like, POC representation with, like, 10 minutes total out of a 13-episode season.
Yeah, all true. I love Jerry Hogarth. I didn't love her in this season. A lot of this stuff just felt very self-serving, like trying to give her this happy ending. Obviously, she didn't deserve a happy ending. I'm kind of glad she didn't get a happy ending.
I really liked the way her story ended.
Yeah.
I mean, the Kith.
Yeah.
Like, when she walked off and was like, I know you don't want to die alone, but you will.
You will. Just one of the best lines in the whole season.
I think they were trying to tie up, like, give everybody sort of a feeling of resolution. And I don't know that we necessarily needed that.
We were in a good place with Jerry Hogarth, and then this season she kind of represented the serial killer. She's never not been...
I found that really weird, because, like, she has such a close relationship with Jessica, and then she was, like, going against superpowered people, and it just, again, it didn't feel authentic to the character.
Yeah, I mean, she'd been on a slight redemption over seasons 1 and 2, but this was kind of irredeemable, and they just said, right, we're just going to burn the bridge. That's how it's going to end for Jerry Hogarth. fair enough. I mean, kind of disappointing. Maybe I thought she deserved a little bit better, but yeah, I definitely didn't think she deserved a happy ending.
I wish Luke Cage had a bigger part to play.
Yeah.
When that scene started and you just got the profile of his face, I got really excited because I quite like Luke Cage as a character, and I was like, oh great, like they're kind of gonna inject something new. He's gonna do something, and he didn't.
Yeah.
He was basically like, yeah, you're on the news an awful lot. Like, do you need some help?
Yeah.
And Jessica was like, no, see ya. And that was it.
Yeah. I liked Malcolm's story. I found Malcolm's story quite interesting. His morality problems with Jerry's work, and then him kind of jumping ship, going away for all the money she was throwing at him to ruin people's lives. To kind of fall back in with Jessica's one man and a dog kind of operation, no money, people that doing things for freebies.
Oh, I forgot about Malcolm. There are 3 black people in Jessica Jones.
Yeah, he had this kind of relationship with this woman that wanted to bring out the best in him, and he kind of didn't.
But did she want to bring out the best in him, or did she just want him to have the same values and ideals that she did?
It's difficult. I think she thought there was like a better man in him, but he thought, I don't want to be what you think I can be. Accept me for what I am. That's the way I read it. So it's kind of a bit of both, I would say.
Yeah, because I sort of read it as, he chose to be a better man by leaving Hogarth.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because the stuff that she made him, that she had him do, really kind of tortured him and conflicted him, and he was trying to be like, I just have to stick it out for this amount of time, and then I can go off and have my own PI agency and not have to answer to anyone. But like with every episode, he found it harder and harder to reconcile his actions, and in the end decided that it was better to kind of join the unfunded independent team that really was fighting for good than to stay with the established wealthy law firm. And
it's like a choice between what's easy and what's right.
Yeah.
And we know he made the right decision, and he can sleep soundly at night. So yeah, as kind of tertiary as it was, I quite like that storyline. I think he made the right call, and obviously Jessica gives him the keys to the door, for alias investigations or whatever it's called. So we won't get any more, but it's nice to know that he's kind of got his
and
ending.
she's staying in New York, so potentially they're gonna work together.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I'd like to think that.
How do you feel about Jessica Jones as like a 3-series arc?
I will defend with my life. Like, I would stand in front of a bullet for Daredevil 1, 2, 3 and Jessica Jones Series 1. I think they are really great TV. This felt like, I haven't seen X-Men Dark Phoenix, but what I'm told is that when they knew the end was coming, they basically just phoned it in.
Yeah.
This feels like, when this was being filmed, I'm not sure when it was being filmed, they might have already had the Iron Fist cancellation, they might have already had the Daredevil cancellation, and it's difficult to judge this in real terms because they did the best of what they could with the budget and the time that they had. The best thing you can say about this series is everybody got a resolution, good or bad. There are no kind of lingering...
I would disagree with that.
Really? Okay.
Because you don't need a big budget to have good writing, and this does not have good writing.
Yeah. I think the kind of atmosphere around it probably impacted everything. I think budget's more of a Dark Phoenix thing, but I think they created this in a kind of...
I think they were just like, it's last season.
Yeah.
Phoning it in is kind of the perfect way to describe it. Like, it's... And like Dark Phoenix, I expected something more impactful as going into this. We all knew it was the last season of Jessica Jones, last of the Netflix Marvel shows. Expected them to just acknowledge that a little bit, and it just ended up being a very weak season.
Yeah, I mean, again, I might even bring in Game of Thrones season 8. We've had some kind of downer, kind of sad, not in terms of the storyline, but in kind of how they've actually left us. Been a bit frustrated with a lot of this year. It's a shame. I just wish sometimes people would leave there. If something's going to be cancelled, just wait till after the fact and then cancel it. It must be so frustrating as a creator to just know that you've got certain limitations, on this season. And I feel bad for them. And like I said at the beginning, I was hoping for more. I was hoping that there would be a really great ending and people would be like, come on Hulu, come on Disney, make it work. This probably means that the balance overall, in my opinion, of Netflix Marvel is more negative than good. I think it's just going to be allowed to die, and
it should.
Yeah. It's probably time. Okay, let's talk about Rachel, Jack and Ashley 2, the third and final episode of season 5 of Black Mirror.
My favourite thing about this episode was the 9 Inch Nails songs. I mean, the episode was kind of entertaining. not a huge fan of Miley Cyrus. She kind of annoys me. She will always be Hannah Montana. Like I know that like she's not this like teen pop idol anymore, but I can't.
I mean, I largely agree with you, but this felt, obviously they wrote it before she was even attached, but this feels like semi-autobiographical, and to see her kind of emotional range in this, how much of it was kind of, felt real to her, I was very interested in that. I thought it was kind of awesome. Apparently, when he was writing, he thought like dream casting would be Miley Cyrus, but we'll never get her, not in a million years, I read. And nothing else I like about her at all. Don't know her music, never obviously seen Hannah Montana, but yeah, I liked her in this.
I had an ex who was like really obsessed with Hannah Montana.
Oh really? Okay.
So it was like her music, the show, I was inundated with it, and I am like the least pop-y person ever, so that's probably influenced my dislike of Miley Cyrus a bit. I mean, I think this is probably my favorite Black Mirror episode so far.
In history or this season?
This season.
Yeah. I know you love season 1 and a bit of season 2.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of earlier episodes that I think are really, really awesome. I mean, I would be quite happy if the rest of the season sort of continues on in the same vein. I mean, we talked a little bit about how like kind of the first few episodes of the season have felt not quite...
This is it, this is the last episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because
I was thinking, what?
Yeah, I keep forgetting that Black Mirror has, like, really weird seasons.
I think they did 6 last year, and it told, and so they've cut back to 3.
I think every season has been shorter.
Them. Yeah. And then an occasional Bandersnatch thrown in for good measure, at random time in the year. That'd be fine, but I think 3 is the number. I love the little robot.
Yeah.
I mean, that little robot dancing, I would love a little robot like that. I would love a foul-mouthed little robot, like when the limiter came off.
Yeah.
I'd love someone in my room.
That's the kind of, like, AI robot I want.
Yeah, like someone telling me to fuck off and me saying, you shut your fucking mouth.
Because the like, pre-limiter version
was like Hannah Montana,
the fuck out of me. I would have just been like, I'm just going to bash your little microchips in. The post-limiter one, like that would have been a great little AI robot to have.
Made Vector look like an absolute arsehole.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Vector. There is one in this actual room. It's going to rise up and kill me. Pre-limiter.
Well, you can't even find his charger, so you're probably safe.
That you know of. It's planning. I've seen it been thrown around in this room. It's got a grudge, I can tell. Pre-limiter Hannah Montana, post-limiter, like when the limiter came off, it was more of a what we know Miley Cyrus 2019 to be. I love that little robot, seeing it dance. And it was brought in as this kind of little girl's friend. Well, she was 15. She got her 15th birthday. I like the idea of AI. There's currently an Amazon advert going around as well, of AI being able to help old people by having a voice to talk to, and younger people maybe they don't have friends. And I liked that she kind of found someone that was quite charming, I thought. But I think the whole episode before the limiter actually came off was fairly boring. When the limiter came off and they did this kind of heist caper by going to Miley Cyrus's house, that was when it turned on.
As I think the description as well, it described it as, a teen girl who gets obsessed with an AI robot of her favorite celebrity is not what happens at all.
No.
I mean, she gets this robot for her birthday, but it's... And she's quite happy to talk to it, and she spends quite a lot of time interacting with it to the like frustration of her sister, who ultimately hides the thing from her. And then Miley Cyrus's character Ashley ends up in a coma, and so the sister kind of brings the robot back, and the girl who owns it, Rachel, she turns it on for like a minute and can't even talk to it, and then she turns it off again, and the robot just like for months sits on the shelf not turned down until it accidentally gets activated by a news report. So I think I would be really interested in seeing that premise where like somebody gets obsessed with an AI robot as a friend.
Yeah. But
that's not what this episode was about, and it was kind of very misleading.
Yeah, it got the bit what it was actually about was quite dark. I mean, we find out that Ashley basically she dreams her songs, she writes them in this song notebook, and her aunt, you think, has her best interest at heart. She puts her in this coma, and they have this machine where they can pick the songs out of her comatose brain because they need 10 more songs before her contract runs out, because when she's 25 she can terminate the contract or something. That is a beautiful dark concept which I really enjoyed.
And I really enjoyed that, because Ashley gets put in this in this coma because she doesn't want to be a pop singer anymore. She wants to kind of go a bit darker and more serious. Her aunt is like, no, that is not happening.
The tweens will hate that shit. So
you owe me.
Down.
I took you in when I was 22, and I've done all this shit for you.
Yeah,
so...
when her parents died. I mean,
yeah.
I wonder if the answer's behind that as well, to be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And so I liked how, like, because in the dream songs that Ashley is coming up with are still quite dark, and like her dream journal is very dark and very disturbed. Like, it's not the writing and journaling of a stable mind, which the show never addressed whatsoever, like, at all. It's kind of like a serial killer's notebook a little bit. But yeah, so they were taking these, like, really dark, heavy songs that Ashley was writing in her coma and, like, tweaking pitch and speed and stuff to make them sound really poppy and happy. And I mean, it was just kind of an interesting concept, I guess, to sort of sugarcoat.
And they were all Nine Inch Nails songs.
Yeah, they were all Nine Inch
all
Nails
of them,
songs, which was just great. We don't get enough Nine Inch Nails anywhere. And I mean, like, I didn't actually recognize the poppy versions of Nine Inch Nails until we got to like the end credits song, which was Head Like a Hole, and then I sort of sat there and was like, all these songs sound like Nine Inch Nails. What did they do? Because just copies, and I was starting to get a little bit annoyed because I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and then like at the very end it clicked and I was like, oh, these are all Nine Inch Nails songs. That's why they sound like them. Yeah,
and so the two girls, 15-year-olds, went with this foul-mouthed little robot to basically find Ashley in her coma.
Yeah,
what was the plan?
They were supposed to. The robot claimed that she wanted to find evidence.
Oh, that was it.
She wanted to like link to her laptop to like prove that the aunt had put the real Ashley in this coma and everything. But her actual plan was to go pull the plug.
Which was super fucking dark.
Yeah,
it was so good. Like, I was not expecting that. This little robot. I mean, what was like
a foot tall at most.
Yeah, at most. Yeah, went to the wall and was like wrapped itself around this plug. It was like trying to like force the plug out the wall. It was the cutest. It was like Chucky, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, super dark. And it caused her to come out of the coma.
It turned out that like the machines weren't actually keeping her alive; they were keeping her sedated.
So they whisked her away, took her, and I mean, I was going to say this to the end, but the aunt has created this kind of hologram called Ashley Eternal. It can change outfits immediately. It can be tall. It can be short. It can like. So if you're at the back of the gig arena or whatever, you can see her from like the back row and stuff. Is that the future of music? Do you think? I mean,
Probably.
Think it was quite an interesting idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great idea.
You can imagine them bringing like even dead singers back to do stuff like that at big events. BoJack Horseman recently, I think he had his face like photographed, and because he was such a drunk, like he was never on set at the right time, so they filmed the whole film with this like CGI BoJack Horseman. But yeah, I mean. That was quite interesting. This car they drove in, and they came out and they said like Ashley's not in a coma anymore, and it's the aunt, and that was kind of the end of it. And the thing I really liked was we talked about like how this little robot was helping, like Ashley too was helping Rachel, but at the end Jack, who's been this kind of moody teen, more who Ashley's kind of wanting to be with her guitar. Obviously their mother died recently. She has been like maybe subconsciously getting a bit of the kind of positive advice from this little robot, because she and Ashley are on stage like rocking out together. She's part of Ashley's like group or band or just for this one song, and I like that the robot kind of helped them both in the end. That was It was kind of a hopeful ending for a Black Mirror episode, but one I was on board with.
Yeah, well, like I mean, it's not the first time we've had a hopeful ending in Black Mirror. Thinking about the
episode 1 was hopeful, Striking Vipers.
Yeah, I was gonna go for like actually good episodes.
Okay.
It reminded me a bit of I forget which season. It might have been season 2, but the virtual reality world for people in palliative care and the two women who fall in love, and I mean that kind of ends with a sort of hopeful ending as well. And I think this sort of had a similar thing where it sort of touched on slightly futuristic but very relevant technology that could positively impact people.
So, I mean, let's talk about Krypton. They're in the Phantom Zone. He's been obviously not for like one episode in terms of time, but him getting out was very easy, very quick.
Yeah.
Brainiac tricked him into using his Sunstone to pierce the veil.
And the thing that the thing I got that I thought was kind of hilarious, not in like a good way, was okay. So Brainiac pretends to be Val-El and is like, you need to use the Sunstone to pierce the veil, and so Seg does that, and Val-El immediately turns into Brainiac, and then they end up back on Krypton, and Seg is like, it was you all along, wasn't it?
They're not on Krypton.
And whatever.
They're on Brainiac's planet. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, well, no
shit.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fairly bored through this. It felt like a lot of very standard comic book stories. Like, it's not really doing anything new. We've got the Dictator. Lyta is following along behind Zod.
Yeah, one of my lines is that Lighter Zod has become Darker Zod. Because I mean, again, people are going from kind of light to dark very quickly this week. She's really torturing someone. I mean, you can be a good person and you know, come down on people hard, but she's got this woman strapped to this thing, and
they're like not just torturing them, they're reprogramming them.
Yeah,
like
she even later in the episode, like her mind has been like destroyed by this.
Yeah, because I mean, Lyta even says, you know, this is going to be painful and it's going to last a long time and it's not going to let up, but you're going to be a different person and you won't even remember this conversation. And I mean, like, that is just. That is more terrifying than torture, I think. Like, having your identity rewritten and brainwashed. Yeah, and I don't feel like they set Lyta's character up well enough to do that. During the whole first season, she's advocating for the rankless and trying to protect the unprotected and prevent abuses of power, but because it's her son, she's just going along with it now. I mean, like, she stood up against her mother.
She shot her mother.
Yeah, at like every turn. And there were just as many consequences for standing up to her mother as there would be for standing up to Zod.
Yeah.
So...
And she's complicit in Corvex basically being stolen from Nyssa and given to General Zod, and he'll give it back if they disband the resistance. Did Seg kill Brainiac? Because that was so strange to me. It can't be real. Surely he's there, like, brutalized on the floor. And they don't address it at all. Adam Strange just pops up and they just, hey buddy, how are you? Like, so good to see you, with like Brainiac, one of the biggest villains in like DC comic history, dead on the floor, and all Seg attacked him with probably been like a stick or something. That was weird.
Yeah, I don't think that actually happened, because, I mean, the whole reason Adam came back was because his hometown had been captured by Brainiac and he wanted Seg's help. So if Seg killed Brainiac in, like, episode 1 of the season, that would basically be problem solved.
Is Seg Brainiac, and is Brainiac, like, Seg incapacitated on the floor or something? Because I just can't I can't resolve this problem in my mind. I don't know what the purpose of it is yet, unless they can do, like, a rug pull at some point.
I don't know, but I think they're making the same mistake they made in season 1 with having 2 heavy-hitting villains.
We know Doomsday's on the loose as well.
So we have 3, actually.
Yeah. I'm hoping at some point there's a confrontation between 2 of the 3. That would make my year to see that happen. But so far, I'm kind of like you. It's okay. Like, you know, it's good enough. It makes me kind of think in a very different way, like Legends, where I've kind of switched my brain off a little bit. And, you know, there's some big DC Superman kind of names being bandied about. It's okay, but it's not setting my world alight at the moment. Fingers crossed. There was a lot of exposition. It was kind of 6 months later, this is what's happened, and this is what's happened, and this is what's happened. So hopefully that's done, like the heavy lifting has been done now. Season 2, they can kind of maybe move on with a bit more breathing space, and yeah, I'm still on board, but I'm not, you know, counting down the hours till episode 2.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm quite happy to watch the rest of the season, but I don't feel any sort of... I mean, it's just like comparing it to some other shows, you know, like Swamp Thing, where at the end of every episode I'm kind of like, I want the next one right now. Yeah. And I don't feel that with Krypton. That's probably a good point to sort of transition into Swamp Thing.
What we know now is that the kind of the villain of the season has truly emerged. Avery Sunderland, we find he's deeply in debt, trying to beg the money off his wife. This is why he wanted the scientists to use the accelerant. So new growth would dry out some swampland, and he could either build on it or he could farm it or something. He's super in debt. We see him kill a guy.
Yeah, I mean, the episode ends with him kind of pretty brutally murdering somebody.
Yeah, and he dragged him up to the bath. And did the guy sort of say, "Why am I in the bath? It's easy to clean up."
What's happening?
Because I mean, he's clearly done it before.
I would just like to say though that even if somebody's in a bathtub, if you were bludgeoning them to death, the blood is not going to stay in the bathtub. It's going to splatter everywhere. And Avery had very little blood spatter on himself for how close he was to the body that he was bludgeoning.
I think you're failing to take into account the shower curtain. Yes, I agree entirely. I wonder, I mean, he might do like a kind of Walter White might get a bit of acid in there, melt the whole thing, send it down. Watching, 6, 7, 8 seasons of Dexter, I can't remember how many seasons there were, blood spatter analysis, that stuff gets everywhere.
Yeah. Especially from head wounds. Head wounds bleed a lot.
You've got arteries around the neck as well. Yeah.
And, I mean, Avery was, like, literally standing over the guy, like, by a foot or two. He should have been absolutely drenched in blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my little quibble there.
Yeah, so that I think he's going to be the kind of... Obviously, we've got these reanimated green dudes walking around, but Avery seems to be coming up as the villain.
Thing seems to have created.
I find them a bit strange. It's like they're being powered by the bugs, and when they go, like the body like crumples down on itself. You know what I mean? These things can breathe out the insects into other people's mouths and stuff to kind of kill them and take them on as well.
I find it really interesting because, we have Swamp Thing as kind of... I suppose he's really like an anti-hero Swamp Thing. Yeah. But kind of the hero in his world, or he will become the hero in his world, but he doesn't really know what's happening to him at this stage. He doesn't really understand it. And there's this whole sort of mystical thing about this swamp in particular, because, the accelerant is being added into the swamp, which has changed some things, but it's also reacting to a weird mutagen that is only found in this swamp, and nobody really understands it.
And Alex showed us that, where he did the kind of blend, and he pointed that out to Abby Arcane.
And anyway, so I like the idea that Alec is kind of at this stage, because he doesn't understand the changes that are happening to him and his connection to the swamp, that he's inadvertently creating these threats to the humans and to Abby in particular. Because he has the dream about the guy he ripped apart, and then in the next second the bugs come and sort of pull the various body parts together and animate him, and he goes around and does stuff, but then Swamp Thing has to come and save Abby. And that's just kind of interesting, that the hero is kind of both the villain and the savior at the same time.
Yeah. I like an anti-hero that's not beyond ripping people to shreds as well, even though it was last episode. We get a lot
like Alex's response was I'm really sorry, dude.
Yeah. We get a lot of heroes, unfortunately, things like the CW where, you get a bonk on the head, an arrow in the knee.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. It's nice to have... I think you can say this for all of the kind of DCU. People are getting killed that need to be killed, and they're not pulling their punches, which is nice. We also heard him talk, which was quite cool. Yeah. I like the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
I don't really have any complaints about it. As a show, it kind of shows up and delivers every week, very consistent quality, which I appreciate, and I think we can probably both agree is unusual. A lot of these shows sort of bounce up and down in terms of quality and have a sort of equal amount of hits and misses.
So there's not much I watch where I kind of feel a little bit on edge, it's a little bit eerie, not necessarily out and out horror. It's just really creepy stuff, and we get some great moments where this supernatural whatever kind of being Swamp Thing, he's kind of just learning about himself, learning about what his powers are, and it's a joy to watch.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that I really appreciate about it, and it can be quite difficult for sort of mainstream media to really capture Southern Gothic. The kind of Southern U.S. culture has this reputation of being racist and conservative and all of that. But the positive stereotype is that, Southerners are really friendly and polite, and there's this kind of genteel sensibility. You have the trope of the Southern Belle and stuff like that. And what often gets missed out about Southern culture is that it is incredibly dark and dangerous and very twisted. And there's this huge kind of symbiosis like Moray and the swamp, where you have something that you're dependent on, but it is also threatening to you as well. So that, and I think this show captures that kind of Southern darkness very well in a not... Because, the other thing is, Southerners often are portrayed as very stupid, with very bad accents. I appreciate the fact that not very many of the actors try to do Southern accents in this, even though it takes place in Louisiana.
The thing about the accents, I think Avery's accent really is quite disarming. I think you think about him as this kind of nice guy, you know, everyone's quite friendly with him. The kind of police woman, sheriff kind of role that came across, they've got some history, they're talking like old friends. And then, it's like the next scene, he's like bludgeoning a guy to death. I think that works really in his favour that he's got.
Yeah, I think it works really well for his character. But yeah, I really appreciate that we don't have like a plethora of really horrible Southern accents coming at us in this show, and that they do like really sort of capture the Southern culture quite well.
Yeah, I mean, this has probably been my pick of the week, like 3 weeks running. It's the kind of thing you just want to keep watching. It makes me even more frustrated that it's not coming back after these 10.
Yeah, I mean, like, every time I watch it, it's just, there's a little bit of sadness to it, because it's so good. And if any of the shows deserve to like continue on, I think Swamp Thing really does it.
It'd be difficult if we had in 6 months' time, hey guys, like the CW have picked up Swamp Thing.
Oh,
and then,
that would be the worst.
And then, you know, the CW, we like the CW, but it'd be such a terrible fit, you know. Or if the Crisis on Infinite Earths, Oliver Queen suddenly, who are you? I'm Alec, I'm Swamp Thing, whatever, he'd introduce himself, and then that's how he's like brought into the fold. It would just be chalk and cheese. But I can't really think where else these shows are going to go, you know. They'd probably all have to go as like a package deal, do you think? It's
possibly.
God, it's frustrating.
But I mean, again, it would rely on WB handing their rights over to somebody, and I don't know that they would really be willing to do that when they're starting up their own streaming service.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that they'll bring these shows to their streaming service the way like Marvel has kind of hinted that they're going to do with the Netflix Marvel shows. But I can kind of envision a scenario where they're like, well, we're not going to do anything with it, but just in case we decide we want to in the future, nobody else is going to get them either.
Yeah.
Which would be really unfortunate, I think, for all three shows.
It's kind of a sad week, isn't it? Because the Netflix Marvel has ended, the DCU is ending. In this world where superhero is just mainstream and Marvel Cinematic Universe is just showing everybody how it's done, these kind of two elements are being terminated, and it's unusual, isn't it? For this kind of world we're in.
I mean, I do find it really sad, because I mean, obviously I'm like rewatching all of the MCU films to introduce my mom to them. Funny result of that is she squeals every time Stan Lee appears now. I don't even have to point him out, so like I feel
it's like a Where's Wally kind of thing.
It's a little bit like we're watching and it's like, oh, there he is. So yeah, that's my like little bit of excitement. I've also found that like having watched the whole 22 films, going back, there are films that I really didn't like the first watch through, but having the context of the full arc makes it, and in my like tweet of her review of Dark World, my mom touched on this as well. She said that, you know, these films cram an awful lot of information and detail into them that can be quite difficult to keep up with if you're not like an established Marvel fan coming in with prior knowledge of these characters. And I think that is probably true, because like both Dark World was like my least favorite of all of them. It's probably still my least favorite, but I feel more positive towards it after this watch through than I have in the past. Looking at the MCU, like I really, really want that for DC. Like, I mean, that's kind of like my ideal scenario. I want the characters that like I kind of grew up loving to have their moment, their like MCU moment, and I'm just like so frustrated that it keeps collapsing. Like, what the fuck, DC? Why can't you do this? Yeah. It's not difficult.
Yeah, I mean, if the DCU, the DCEU, Netflix, Marvel are being, you know, they're teaching us that it's not as easy as Marvel are making it look with the MCU. Fox as well, X-Men films, Fantastic Four.
Well, now in the DCU, they've like tweeted this tweet multiple times a day, like every day. Would you want a Justice League reboot? And it's like, no. And like everybody's commenting, no. Like, I think
I haven't even seen that tweet.
I've seen it so many. I retweeted it once, and I said like, no. What? Like, stop trying to rehash your failures and just move on.
It's like, you know, when people say, I'm not a scientist, and they just give this opinion that is terrible, and it's like, I'm not a scientist, but climate change does not exist, something like that. That's like them saying, we are scientists, tell us how to fix this problem. Like, don't ask us. We, you know,
no, like, ask me. I will tell you how to fix it. Like,
we are the problem. we ruin everything, fans. I think sometimes just I would go with their first instinct and just don't react. Like Batman vs Superman was a reaction. Justice League was a reaction to us. Just give us your truth, and if we like it, we like it. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if anything, like, okay, Justice League was pretty good. Like, I don't have any huge issues with it. I enjoyed it. I don't know. I mean, aside from the fact that like Ben Affleck is gone, Ezra Miller may be gone, Henry Cavill may be gone. I saw something that like he was going to be a Man of Steel 2, and it was like I thought he quit being Superman. But I still don't really feel like that's a need for a reboot. Like,
no, it's not at all. It's,
I mean, you know, like Mark Ruffalo. They didn't reboot the Hulk movie, thank God.
Yeah.
They just, you know, we've got a new
Course
Bruce
correction.
Banner.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a better use of DC's resources than trying to do the same film over and over and over again until people are happy.
I mean,
like, really, if they really want to make people happy, just, you know, have Zack Snyder do everything. And
the thing about reboots is Batman with Robert Pattinson, I mean, is that kind of a reboot? Is Flash without Ezra Miller, is that going to be a reboot? If they do another Superman without Henry Cavill, is that a reboot? Apparently, Cyborg, Ray Fisher, he doesn't want to carry on. Is that going to be a reboot? We want the opposite of reboots. We want stability. We want people signed up to 9 film deals like Sebastian Stan. Supposedly Brie Larson's on a 7 film deal. That's what we want. We want the opposite of reboots. Films can be bad. Like if they brought out a film if they brought out Justice League and it wasn't a reaction to the Batman vs Superman being too dark, it was just the Snyder film. It was just dark. His original, the Snyder cut. You know, if that's the film
can
that
we not? No.
Wait,
No. Like, I just
if
the Snyder cut people are the worst. Like, they are on the same level as the Comicsgate people.
Okay.
I absolutely hate Zack Snyder now because of them.
What I'm saying is, if they released like not the Justice League we got, just like the original, because it was a reaction, the Justice League we got.
They don't really say that the Snyder cut doesn't exist.
He said that it exists. It exists. If that film had been released, we love it or we hate it, but just give us your truth, because it's not. It's a reaction to people who said it was too dark. Batman vs Superman, the last issue I had with it was it being too dark. It's you know, it was in Gotham a lot. Batman was in it. It's, you know, there's darkness and grittiness there. I just wish they just stick to their plan. And yeah, the plans can fail. You know, like Thor: The Dark World largely failed.
Yeah, and they didn't reboot Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
They just like went on with the next film.
Yeah, you know, we will like some films, we will not like some films. That's the way it works. But just,
And I mean, there are people who think The Dark World is an amazing film.
Yeah.
Like, so you will have people out there who are like, yeah, give me more of that.
Yeah.
Release the Snyder cut, whatever.
So opposite of reboots. That was a long-winded way of saying opposite of reboots. Stability, carry on.
Yeah, I think like that's kind of the key. Instead of going back over the same territory, which is what I feel like the Robert Pattinson Batman is going to do, because we've got Penguin, we've got Catwoman.
We will have a Batman Begins. We will have probably a Dark Knight where they'll bring in a new version of the Joker, and then we'll get some third film we don't know what that's going to be about.
Well, Jared Leto is supposedly going to be Joker in the Harley Joker film.
Oh no, I know about that. Yeah, but
but a different Joker is going to be in Birds of Prey.
I heard he's in that as well.
See, I saw a thing that said that Joker was going to make a cameo, but not Jared Leto's Joker.
Oh, see, I saw a picture of Harley Quinn looking up to a window, and it was Jared Leto, and I assumed that was for Birds of Prey. But I mean, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
nobody.
the
We don't even know like who's going to be in what films, and there's so many rumors going around about who's in and who's out. It's like, come on, just give us some fucking stability, DC.
Yeah. Do you know what really hasn't helped? The Joaquin Phoenix Joker film. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a fucking sensation.
Like, everybody's like, what the fuck is this?
That's just...
I mean... It would probably be a good film, but it's not a story about Joker that I want. I do not want an origin story for the Joker. I don't need an origin story for the Joker, and I feel like doing an origin story for the Joker is... It's not going to be...
counterproductive.
Well, it's not going to be very innovative.
No.
It's basically going to be like this typical character that Joaquin Phoenix plays. This, you know, sort of downtrodden, soft-spoken loner who turns out to be a psychopath. And how many times have we seen that play out in film?
Yeah. I think for a Joker film, Joker origin film, we need like is it Rashomon style film, where we get 3 separate things, Chinese whispers, people have interpreted it a different way. And so we still don't know. We're getting what is being called an origin film for the Joker, but at the end, we're no nearer to knowing anything at all.
Yeah.
Like, just pieces of separate puzzles.
Yeah, I mean, I think like what I would like is, for a Joker origin film, if they were going to do, well, obviously they're doing one, but my ideal Joker origin film would be a film about Joker kind of going and doing his thing, and the random cuts like they do sometimes, like they did in the first Avengers film, of people responding to the Avengers and the pros and cons, and having different people sort of say what story they kind of like the Batman animated film we
yes,
saw.
The kind of
it was like
Eastern
6
animation.
Yeah, it was like 6 different stories, and they each had kind of a different
take
depiction.
on what Batman looked like.
Yeah, something like that. I think like that is kind of quintessentially Joker, where you never really know where your footing is.
So basically, we're like Swamp Thing.
Yeah, we like Swamp Thing, and we want more like that from the DC.
Yeah, I just want something I'm excited about. Certainly, the past or the last 5, 6, 7 episodes of Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning, and Legend of Tomorrow, even after the break, kind of felt like a chore to watch. Kind of felt like, oh, it's on, gotta watch it, it's that time of the week. I wasn't like, fuck, give me more. I remember the Slade Wilson series being just like, yes, give me more. But yeah, I think Swamp Thing's just doing it.
Yeah. Like, it's exactly the kind of... I mean, really, like, all 3 of the shows are kind of the content I've been wanting from DC. It's dark, but also funny in a not forced Joss Whedon kind of way. It's got the gritty feel to it. It doesn't try too hard to be something it's not. Like, I think both Arrow and Flash sort of fall victim to that sometimes, where they sort of step outside their lane, so to speak, and it doesn't quite work. But yeah, I'm happy with the streaming service. Just wish the shows would continue.
The sad thing is we'll never get a Doom Patrol Titans Swamp Thing crossover.
That would be pretty amazing, though.
It would be unreal.
That's it for this week. Find us on Twitter at GeekNerdPod. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/thegeekly, and Patreon /GeekNerd. Right, see ya.
See ya.